Hi, I'm Doug Ross, editorial page editor at The Times, here with a special edition of the NWI.com Political Roundtable. We have Dan Repay with us today. Dan is director of the Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission. It's quite a mouthful, hard to fit on a business card, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't have business cards because of it, I think.
So we're here to talk about the Little Calumet River levees are substantially complete now. The question is, how do we pay to maintain them?
Well, I think that's the discussion that this county, the watershed's been having over the past 8 months now. There was a bill initially floated in the legislature that was defeated, and now we're at the situation where there's a conservancy district that has been offered. And we're offering another alternative of almost a remake of the first legislative process.
Well, I should point out that George Van Til, the Lake County surveyor, had an opportunity to join us but declined today. George is the one who's been proposing, the main proponent, I should say, of the Calumet Burns Conservancy District, which essentially would charge a fee to everybody in the Little Cal watershed. And what's the difference between that plan and another plan?
The way we look at it, the way I look at it, the fees are the same relatively. The budget is the same within $100,000. The difference is they have proposed a 9-member elected board. We're choosing to have still an appointed board, maybe a mix where we add someone possibly from Gary, which might be needed and should be probably investigated further, and someone maybe from Hammond. But for the most part, theirs is a 9-member elected board. Ours would want to be in state statute and control the fees. Currently, the other one doesn't have a cap on the fees. We're choosing to put it in state statute where the fees at least can be regulated by an elected body.
Okay, during the past legislative session, we saw a huge walkout to Urbana, Illinois, for instance, that pretty well derailed a lot of things, including this legislation, as I understand it. And so I guess my next question is, what are our odds in the following legislative session compared to this past one?
Well, I think we saw that for the most part the Northwest Indiana delegation was united. They understood it. Representative Soliday took the lead position. Representative Dobus and Candelaria Reardon all came together. There were a few legislators that had questions about it. One legislator, she felt that a conservancy district was the best way, and that's how it was portrayed to her. So my hope is to go to those people that may still have questions, refine what we've suggested, and go forward with the same one. But for the most part, it is a good, solid position for us as it relates to funding this. We don't think it needs to be changed too much, although we wouldn't be objectionable to certain aspects of it to be changed.
Okay. What kind of response from the legislators have you gotten this summer?
So far, so good. The same ones that have that helped us initially said that they would help us again. Some said they would like a little bit more input, and I think that's not a problem. And I think what we've asked the other councils to do is take a deep breath at this point in time, look at the plan, see what you need to make change that you didn't necessarily care for in the original bill, and go forward with it. And I think that's the best way to do it, as opposed to running into something that may not be the best alternative.
Okay, well, one of the things that needs to be funded, well, of course, is the maintenance of the levees, but we're also talking about bridges like the one behind us that are the deck of the bridge is below the grade that they should be to get the right flood protection. So where do we go from there?
Well, I think you need to look at bridges with a cooperative effort with the county. Right now, the bridge that's behind us, they have a design that both Hammond and Munster are partnering with to make what they call a flume bridge, or a funnel bridge, where you build up the sides and force the water underneath it, which would allow for protection for the neighborhood, so you wouldn't have to change the deck. The Columbia Avenue Bridge, which is just west of us, is scheduled to be rebuilt this summer. So we think by changing some of the bridges, which would limit the amount of time that we would have to close the bridges, for instance, Kennedy Avenue and other bridges in Gary, if we change the bridge heights, you eliminate the possible problems that you may face with having to close them. But right now, the closures are working. We closed it a week and a half ago now, and all communities were on board with the program that we set up.
Okay, well, one of the I should go to the governance of the board, which really seems to be the key distinction between the two plans. There's a lot of criticism about, is this a board, the current board, is it stacked with Munster residents?
The thought was that there's 80%, or that was the thought that came out. There's 2 Munster residents, 1 resident from Griffith, and 1 by state statute who is a DNR deputy director. There's 1 opening. We've expressed to all the communities, Highland, Hammond, Gary, that if they have someone that is qualified, because under state statute you have to have certain qualifications, if they have someone, that they should bring that person forward, and we'd gladly submit that. Water that we sit by right now doesn't understand what town they're in, what city they're in. We don't distinguish that when we try to manage this. If it needs to be fixed, it needs to be fixed, whether it's in Gary, whether it's in Hammond, or anywhere else in between. We do that. So I still think possibly, though, that there should be some reconsideration, that there be some mandatory appointments, maybe one from Gary. Gary does have 50% of the levy, at least 50%. But when we go back to look at it, we still are doing the maintenance and the construction as it's needed, not based on where it's located.
Okay, what kind of maintenance are we talking about each year?
It varies. For instance, this year we've had a run on pump stations that have gone down. If you look at portions of Gary's been built 10, 15 years ago. So if you imagine nothing has been ever fixed on your house, or you have a car that's 15 years old, eventually you're going to need to fix something. And we've had a couple pumps that have gone down, which means water can't make it from where it's supposed to be into the river, and basically flooding the neighbors. So you're talking about $30,000, $40,000 on a rebuild of a pump in a pump station, and we have 23 pump stations throughout the entire system.
Well, I remember when the floods came in 2008, that the Borman Expressway flooded, shut down. It was a huge issue. How have those problems been dealt with since then?
We've been working with INDOT as a part of our core group of people, along with Hammond, Munster, Highland, Griffith, Gary. We've also included INDOT and Lake Station into that. And as a part of INDOT, they've expressed a need to work with us. They want to be protected as well as the residents do. They've added some pumping stations along the expressway to help alleviate the clovers from filling up with water and then basically flooding the Borman Expressway. So they've invested quite a bit of money into it, and they're still investing on I-65 to help with protection issues on the east end of the project.
Okay, well, now what happens if the Conservancy District idea just kind of flops and dies, and the legislature doesn't do anything next year either for the existing commission?
I believe if the Conservancy District flops, that there's an absolute need and a will by those representatives that know that this needs to be taken care of. There's not anyone on either side of this argument that says that maintenance doesn't need to happen. It's a $250 million project that we're in the midst of, and to simply ignore maintenance, it wouldn't be an option. The reason, my understanding was, they decided to take a back seat, or some people decided to take a back seat on legislation last year, was there was another option. Well, we're starting to see the people aren't really necessarily up for that option. They don't feel comfortable with that option. And so I think if everybody comes together and all parties come together, we can come up with a solution, and we can use this possibly as a model for the rest of the county and maybe the state to say, we have competing ideas. We're able to sit down and talk about it for the best interest of the residents over there and the residents over here, that we're going to solve this, and it's to the benefit of everyone to do so.
Well, thanks. I appreciate your wisdom on this. This is going to be a difficult issue. How long do you think it'll take till this is all resolved?
Well, depending on the resolution of the Conservancy District, my hope is that we meet through the summer with all the communities impacted, and we can come up with an agreed-upon solution to take down to the legislature, and the legislators will then reciprocate and help us by doing this, and we could go on to the next problem.
Alrighty, well, thank you for tuning in for this edition of a special edition, I should say, on location at the Little Calumet River by the Northcott Bridge there, a special edition of the NWI.com Political Roundtable. Dan Repay, Doug Ross, thank you.